Okay, guys, it's Saturday morning, and I'm going to do a quick market analysis before I head out for the day. End of the month, Saturday, September 30. So we're having a monthly close that's happening, and it is a bullish close. It's going to be a bullish close where we sweep this low and are coming up, and it could suggest that we take a high. But what I'm looking at is filling in this monthly fair value gap to 28,800, maybe something like that, to 1825. That would probably be a good target. Weekly, there's a large weekly fair value gap in here. Bitcoin, there's a nice weekly fair value gap in there. So this is the major target, but the bias is to the upside. So price is we swept these weekly highs and we went higher. We swept the previous high and we went higher. I made the mistake of shorting above the trend line. It should be longs only above this trend line until we hit a major target, no matter how liquidations and um, uh, CVD looks. So the idea for a short here was we have a double weekly sweep on the daily. This day, double weekly sweep. On the liquidation chart, we hit a 1 month level, and CVD is bearish on ETH. But price not only went higher and took that high, but it did so on a Friday when the market's not really supposed to move. So the fact that it happened on a Friday is incredibly interesting. But the plan needs to be long only above these trend lines. Now, if it's earlier in the year, it would be long only until new highs. But I really think the market's changed and we're going to get a lower high. So if my analysis is wrong there, it is what it is. I'm looking at here, and then uh, yeah, it's definitely possible up here. So that's something I'm gonna come back and reconsider. But I'm looking at here as being a pivot. I'm looking for an analogy of maybe this time period here, where okay, we have some major trend breaks and we do get a big rally, but it's not the best rally. Like it's not a crazy rally. It's just a nice solid move up. So I'm looking for something like that as a possibility. It is possible price reverses here, that the bearish stuff plays out, but I don't want to short above the trend line again. And Bitcoin looks like volatility is contracting over the weekend under this trend line that has touched locally one, two, three, 4 times. We've been, I guess it didn't touch here, but on the daily it touched twice on this day. Like we are, I'm going to take this one off and clean this up. Yeah, expecting this to break because ETH broke. And there's other reasons too, but I mean, from a couple low time frame clues, one of them is the volume here. If we drop down to the 1 minute, the highest volume on was this wick to the low. That was in a 1 hour gap and a 4 hour gap. We began respecting bullish gaps. Like this one, we respected it so much we haven't even come back there. This one worked as support. This one worked as support, and we carried launched from there. So I'm not expecting this to be resistance. I am, for right now, expecting 28,300 to be a pivot and a level. Again, that might be wrong, but let's look at a couple things. So first off, trader positioning. ETH is actually negative funded at the highs, which is insane. Like people are there's greater demand for shorts on this weekend. Like people want to short ETH. So that is insanity, really. That ETH is heavily shorted right now. So one rule that I really want to follow is like never short when the funding rate is negative. Never. Maybe you can be in shorts. Never open a short. Try to get out if funding's negative. I mean, a lot of the time, like funding never goes negative, but in this range, there's been a lot of negative funding. Um, did happen up here. Typically, it's happening at the lows, not always. Okay. Now from a, let's look at CVD of Bitcoin in particular. To me, it's kind of baffling because ETH looks like bearish CVD. Hasn't mattered though. Has not mattered. Like since here, we've just been selling on spot and buying and perps. But it's not so much, I think, people going long, but just persistent negative funding, persistent shorting, persistent shorting, persistent shorting. People want to short. And that's helping to raise the price. Bitcoin looks a little bit different and it looks quite bullish actually. Um, why? Because let's go to the 1 hour. Actually, Bitcoin has been buying, or spot has been buying since here. Look at that. Since here, this was a perp move. Divergence. Divergence. Right now, sharp divergence. Right now, spot is buying on this fine weekend right now. Okay, so this could carry higher. Now, from an open interest perspective, this is the last year. We could see price stalling at 27.7. I am looking at 28.7 for a couple reasons. Or not 28.7, like 28.3. Okay, let's throw Binance on here. Yes, there's liquidations at the high up here, 30,000, 32,000. I don't know. I don't really believe it. It's possible. But what we're seeing on the 1 month is like, yeah, this 27.6 price should get up to 28,300 at the least. And then maybe we have a reversal. So this is my idea right now is okay. Yeah, longs up to here. So I already have one long, and then I have a second long as a breakout long right here. The main question for me is I'm not going to use this 27,700 as a TP. There's no way. If it comes back, it is what it is. For sure, at least 28,000. Now the question is, I kind of like closing here. Do I want to open shorts here? Where's my limit? Shorts. Go. 28,400. Okay, it's a weekly gap. It's a 4-hour gap. Should it act as resistance? Well, I could be wrong here, but I think that we have a different market than before. And in the previous market, price respected weekly fair value gaps that were bullish and just blasted through any kind of bearish fair value gap. And I'm expecting the opposite now, where we're going to reject in this weekly, take this one down to here, and then ultimately our bottom in this area. Again, I'm using this as an analogy that we're going to reject, but I don't know, it feels a little bit risky. I guess I'll evaluate when we get there, and I'm okay with it for now because um, if we get there and I get stopped out on that, it will be okay because I will have a huge win and the loss will be relatively small. So Bitcoin in particular looks good to me because of how compressed it is, um, and it hasn't really been sweeping to the upside really. It's been compressing. ETH's a little bit more. I could see ETH failing here and that original short working because we have one sweep and now we have two sweeps and we have a big wick up here. So I'm not long on ETH, and maybe my short idea would end up playing out and I was just a day early. I mean, in retrospect, like structure like this, such a strong rally should have one more sweep, but um, yeah, regardless, I'm gonna try for that. And then another idea that I like is this area has been getting more and more important, but um, it's possible a bearish trend line is going to form before that. But yeah, like if we come up here, then that might not be valid. We might cascade this plus this down to here. But that's where we're at today, and happy trading.